This podcast represents my opinion and the opinion of my guests. This is not medical advice, and I am not establishing a patient-physician relationship with any listener. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each patient is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions you may have.
Welcome everybody. It's Producer Seth and Dr. Chucky T, Dr. Tadros here on the Not Your Doc pod. We're still missing Vaness, and by that I mean we are very, very much missing Vaness. We're doing a show prep without her.
We know where she is, but we're missing her emotionally.
Yes, very much. But yeah, she's still dealing with a few things, but we're expecting her back soon. But
that's
today,
right.
And that's the thing. Vanessa's a hardworking person. She comes to work, she comes and does the pod, and she's got a great work ethic, which segues right into our topic. Today, we're going to be discussing a blog you wrote, or a segment, part of your blog, the Not Your Doc blog, which can be found at notyourdoc.com. And this is the unwritten rules, yes, archaic and abusive, of showing that we're serious about our work, wanting to keep our jobs, and serious about supporting our employer. And sadly enough, I think especially that last part I mentioned, you don't see a lot of that. There's a lot of I just need a paycheck kind of people out there. So take it away, Doc.
Yeah, well, thanks, Seth. And you named the title. I'm going to read it here in a second. But absolutely, some of the things sound like heresy that we're going to talk about today, especially in the last few years, where people believe, all sorts of people, not just Gen X and Gen Z and all the other younger generations, that they believe that it's me, myself, and I. And I don't believe that's accurate about them. Certainly not all of them by any stretch of the imagination. So this is something I wanted to kind of talk about the unspoken, and that's exactly right. This is from 6 months ago on my notyourdoc.blog. It says the unwritten rules, yes, archaic and abusive, of showing that we're serious about our work, and that we want to keep our jobs, and serious about supporting our employer. Now, people say, I don't care about my employer. They're well-to-do. They're shortchanging me. They give me horrible work schedules, all sorts of stuff like that. But I'm going to take it because I've been an employee and I am an employer. So I'll take it from multiple angles. But this is stuff I wrote just to kind of say what's kind of unsaid a lot of times. So the unwritten rules about being serious about our work, wanting to keep our jobs, and serious about supporting our employer. And I'll enumerate these. Taking responsibility even if it's not our fault. This is responsibility for things that have gone wrong. Going above and beyond without asking for remuneration or recognition. So doing extra work without asking for any kudos or any more recognition or pay. Taking on co-workers' responsibilities. The co-worker is sick, or the co-worker is not as hard worker, co-worker is not as effective or as efficient, that you just kind of take over without asking, because you know the work needs to be done. Taking on more work than is assigned. Anticipating co-workers and supervisors' needs. It's kind of a type of mind reading sometimes, but certainly you can anticipate if you're there long enough, you can see what other people need to do in order to get the project or moved along, and just kind of stepping in, anticipating what other people will need in order, and you help them. Not complaining. Not criticizing, not job hunting. You're not trying after hours and during lunch to look for other jobs, because you're there to support the boss and your old coworkers. Not asking for raises or new titles or elevated positions or for job or career advancements. In other words, you're there to serve. You're there to serve the capacity that they've hired you for. Assuming that the company's way or the boss's way is the best way or the only way of doing something. Not taking sick leave. How about skipping breaks or skipping lunch, or not going to the bathroom, or eating at our desks to make us more quote-unquote efficient? Coming in early or staying late. Taking work home, working until we go to bed, pulling all-nighters to finish projects, etc. Sacrificing family or close relationships so we can keep our jobs and show that we're serious about our careers. Sacrificing mental and physical health. Not clocking in or possibly even clocking out early, but still performing work, which is illegal in practically everywhere that I know. Not taking vacations. How about checking in or logging in during vacations on your computer or your phone to see what's happening back at work? Not using all of our vacation days. Performing work while we're on vacation, performing work while we're still on sick leave or maternity leave, coming back to work earlier than expected from vacation, sick leave or maternity leave, paying out of our own pockets for work expenses. How about not turning in receipts after paying out of our own pockets? So these are some of the things that were, whether said out loud or said behind closed doors or unwritten and unsaid, this is the stuff that's traditionally over many hundreds, if not thousands of years, people have done these and other such kind of personal sacrifices to show that they're serious about their work and they want to support the employer, they want to hopefully eventually advance, etc. But the whole idea is that they do it without asking. They do these things without asking for without asking for pay or without pats on the back, etc. And that hopefully that somehow your boss and bosses or supervisors and coworkers will notice your hard work and that your sacrifices, and that they will relieve you. They'll trade their energy and their time in order for you to get some of your energy and time back. And unfortunately, as we all know, this is not happening and not happening enough. And this is where part of what's happened over the last 20 years is that people have to speak up for themselves, and eventually it became the quiet quitting during the pandemic, and now it's loud quitting. But when people wonder why something's happening, what's not happening. Sometimes, not all the time, you can go back to this list I've discussed, and you can start seeing it's like, oh, they expected me to do this, and I know I took off time because it was the end of my work day, and I said I'll do it tomorrow, and people were kind of a little PO'd at me. Especially people culturally from other countries that come to work here in the United States, and they're willing to do some of these things, and somebody that sits next to them is not willing to. It's a reminder that you're not only doing it, it's not only about you, but people are comparing you to other people. And you say, well, the other people don't have kids, they don't have responsibilities, they don't have as many financial needs. And the answer is absolutely, you are correct. They're not people don't come to work are on same type of footing, same type of emotional, financial support. But unfortunately, whenever bosses have deadlines, bosses have budgets, they want people to help them get deadlines completed, hopefully before the last minute, and come under budget. So that's what kind of happens. And unfortunately, people think that they're being used as a tool to make quote unquote the bosses wealthy or their supervisors make them look good. And the answer is that's part of the politics that people hate about work, is that you kind of keep your mouth shut and do your work and do more than your work, and hopefully you'll get out of this and it'll be passed on to some other another person, and you'll get to move up the ladder and you'll have to do less of this stuff. But unfortunately, as we've known, sometimes it works like that, and that's great, but the vast majority of the time it doesn't, or doesn't do it well enough. And so this is kind of what we end up with people that are like, why do I hate work? Why do my boss not, doesn't notice or support me and stuff like that? And because a lot of times this stuff that we've talked about is unwritten. And that's what they're comparing you against, this kind of checklist.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably laughed when you said if you do these things, which you didn't say it for a fact. If you do all these things, your employer will see it, and then ideally, we'll say they should,
that's right,
offer some kind of incentive.
Raises, improved work situations, more support.
I'm not like trying to shit on the idea that you should go to work and do a good job. Like, no, you should go there and just do just enough not to get fired. Do what the average person does. I think everybody should go there and go the extra mile and put 110% into their job for sure. Yeah. But you also have to watch out, the employers and coworkers even, they do get comfortable.
That's right.
Get conditioned to where they see, you're at work, you're still coming in every day. Okay, then they know that certain things are going to get taken care of. Mm-hmm. And they're so busy. It's not that they're necessarily bad people.
No.
But, they're busy. They forget. This person's been making the same amount of money for a while. Sometimes you got to remind them. And I always say put it in writing. Ask somebody or Google it. Like, what's the proper way to ask for something like that? And put it in a professional a letter and turn it in.
I tell people it should not be shock and awe. It should not be once a year review. It should not be shock and awe whenever you come to review time that everybody hates it. They hate to review you. You hate to write down what the things that you brought to the company, what the projects you completed, what your goals are for the next year. All this stuff should not be shock and awe once a year and stuff like that. This should be routine feedback. You should not wait all year to hear back that you're something that they didn't appreciate or they appreciated and stuff, and be compensated for that. I remind people sometimes people want more freedom and more respect and more flexibility, and it's not always more money. People sometimes conflate more money with all the stuff, freedom and respect and flexibility.
People will take less money for more benefits.
That's right.
Especially when it comes to like their health.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will be like, I'll take a pay cut if it means if I like the work environment. A lot of people will take a pay cut if they like the work environment better somewhere else.
That's right.
There's things that mean a lot to people when it comes to working.
That's right.
Besides just money.
And the problem is people tend to focus on money whenever you're right. They'd rather have more benefits or they have more time off or be able to flex time in.
Sick time's
right.
Such a
absolutely
great thing to have.
That's right.
I remember the first time I got paid vacation. Me and my buddy flew out to Seattle for a weekend. I was like, I'm on the clock right now. Such a good feeling. I was like, a little bit of hard work pays off.
Yes.
It really does.
Yeah.
And we were talking before we started recording. I've actually worked with, and you probably have seen this person too. Everybody has. The person that doesn't make enough, so they do a bad job. They show up late. They don't care. They half-ass everything. They have a bad attitude sometimes. They screw up, and it's like, well, what's the deal? It's like, well, I want a raise. I'm not getting one. Well, you can go about it two ways. You can look at it as it's a possibility in which you would be working harder, or you're looking at it as if it's not a possibility, and that's what's making you mad. That's got to be what's making you mad, right? It's because you don't believe that you can get a raise. So what are you doing there?
Right. And I tell employers or people who complain about their employees, I said, if you guide people, if you teach them and you go back and check and make sure they're doing it the way that you want or the right way, whatever way, and then they're not doing it correctly, and you give them corrections and you show them and you check back with them. And if this is not coming to fruition, if things are not getting better, do yourself and them a favor. Say you love them, but they're not happy doing their work there. You're not happy with their work. It's time for them. You want them to move on so that they don't have somebody being fired on paper. Now I know HR will disagree with all these things, but you want people to be happy and successful somewhere. Hopefully it's with you, with your company, and your building, whatever it is. But sometimes they just can't be, and you can't help them to get there. And so it's time to say, I want you to be happy. It doesn't have to be with us. That's extremely important, I think, to be able to. The worst, I think, is whenever people make you feel bad on the way out. They've not been doing good work or good enough work or the type of work that the bosses want. The bosses have been meeting about them and spending a lot of time, walking on eggshells so that they don't, from HR standpoint. And it takes weeks and months and sometimes longer to have somebody move on. Whenever you really want to say, hey, I want you to be happy and healthy, and it's not working out for us, and I signals from you, or I don't think that you're happy here. We want you to be able to be happy elsewhere. That's an ideal life, an ideal situation. Just because there's a job and there's a warm body in the job doesn't mean that there's a match. Just because people are looking for jobs, and sometimes they're not getting even close to what they want in terms of location or hours or intellectual stimulation or money or benefits. So I think that's important for people to understand. Just because they have to have a job and stuff like that doesn't mean that they're going to be happy about it. Doesn't mean that the boss is going to be happy with you. And that's where bosses say, I don't want to hire you into this job. You look good, but as soon as you find something better, you're going to leave in a few weeks. So I don't blame them for that, but also by the same token, people have to pay their bills. And so that's kind of where a lot of us are. We have to be very practical. A lot of stuff is just being able to fill the checking account so checks don't bounce, period.
Yeah, especially now, things aren't great for
That's right.
A lot of people are having a tough time out there. Like a long time, like a while back, when I would train somebody, I've had a few different types of jobs, and I have a trainee, and I could always tell how they were going to be based on their questions. They come in, and I'd show them how to do something. They'd ask a lot of questions about the actual job. Right. But you get this person every once in a while. It's like you show them how to do something. You're like, do you have any questions? They say, yeah. When's payday? You're like, well, that wasn't really the topic.
Right.
Right. 5-10 years ago, I'd be like, I'm not so sure about this person's work ethic.
Right.
Anymore these days, you got to think people are anxious right now. They got bills.
They do.
Utilities are through the roof.
Yep.
Like they can
groceries, utilities, car prices, home prices, all sorts of stuff.
Went up for me again.
Yep.
So I almost can't blame them anymore, but.
Well,
you got to find that middle ground.
It's also the bosses or HRs or whomever, the responsibility to bring up the money and the compensation early. I mean, I think it's important to maybe not the first discussion, but I think
one to bring it up.
That's right. I think that they should be. They recognize. I mean, there are no secrets here. Certain people, like I said, want more family time, more flexibility, more health benefits, closer, less driving time, all of these things, and that's part of the discussion whenever you get hired. Is what's important to you. This is how we do things here. Is that going to match your needs? All that stuff is back and forth, and I think that's extremely important to take that seriously, and recognize not every job and not every person for that is right for the job. Not every job is right for the person. Just because people are available and have experience in that area or interest doesn't mean that's automatically a great fit. And remember that we're not automatic. Even though I may have been a physician, for certain groups, that if I go to another group, I have to be open to seeing how they do things. Their electronic medical records, how they do their billing, stuff. Just because I'm a doc and I've done it elsewhere doesn't mean that's the same way that my next employer or et cetera would want me to do it.
Yeah, some young person teaching you.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. No, and it is part of it. That certainly, your ability to be open. And we know this, that we'd rather have people who are smart, intelligent, and flexible and curious than we want somebody who knows it all, who's inflexible, who's got experience. So a lot of us, we want to work with, or we want to train, or we want our coworkers to be somebody who's sharp and who's ready to pick up new ideas and new things, bring some competence and intelligence into the work. But most jobs want you to do it their way.
Well,
and that's fine. And part of it is that negotiation but I have some ideas that I think could help this company. So that's the negotiation. It's not automatically that they want, no matter how much of a genius and how experienced you are, unless they specifically brought you in because of your special expertise and they're there to listen to you. A lot of people don't want to hear, your fanciest stories right up front. They want to show you their way because they've done, they've taken them many months, years, decades to kind of get their technique, their rhythm of how they want things done. Yeah.
I've had trainees.
Sure.
So what kind of music you like? Like you should really be focused on it. I appreciate the small talk.
Yeah.
I like the personality behind it.
Sure.
Let's focus on the job. And I always say, actually, we use the word training a lot. We throw it around pretty loosely, but I always say I don't train people. I've never trained anybody outside the military. I've never trained anybody before, ever. When somebody comes to a job, I don't train them. I teach them.
Yeah.
I teach them how to do the job.
Right.
Training is to reshape their behavior. I can't train somebody on how to show up to work on time and
that's
have
a good point.
Good attitude and
right.
have a good work ethic.
Right.
That's you.
Right.
I'm going to teach you the job.
Right. And there are a couple of things that I think you mentioned, and we sometimes use the words interchangeably, and that's correct. It's teaching and training, you're right. I mean, that's the question. I mean, if somebody can do a doctor's job that doesn't get an MD or DO, have they been taught or are they trained? So these are kind of nuances on words. But the quickie answer is, there are certain attitudes and certain personalities that you can't change and stuff like that. And that's that people tend to come in with that. That's why I talk about people who are interested and curious and bright, even if they've not done that job, even if they don't know how to use the tools, you can teach them. And if you're interested in learning how to swim, as of our last podcast, if you're interested in how to swim, but you're afraid of water, we can teach you. If you're not interested in how to get in the water and you're afraid of water, we can never teach you. But if you're interested and you have motivated, then you'll show up, and no matter how hard it is, we're going to help guide you and to make you feel safe and better as a swimmer. And that's kind of hopefully what most jobs are like. They're willing to train you and teach you within certain limits, not an infinite amount of time. They spend a lot of time and energy and resources to get people up to snuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a chef I worked under when I was 19 years old, and this was my first restaurant job. I left Taco Bell and was going to go into fine dining.
There you go. That's a big jump.
Taco Bell was fine dining, but this chef, and I don't know, he probably stole this quote from somewhere, but he said, he goes, "All I can do is open the door. You got to walk through it."
Sure. That's right.
So that's when you train
Opportunities.
somebody. I open the door. You got to walk through.
That's right.
Things you got to do on your end.
And a lot of people say that you could lead a horse to water, but not make him drink or her drink. But the quickie answer is absolutely.
Horses will always drink water. You're not going to put water. Every animal, when they see water, they automatically drink. It's instinctive. That's crazy.
Water attracts unwanted animals. But anyway, so yeah, please look at the blog for 6 months ago. It's entitled "The Unwritten Rules." And once again, people, you're right, are going to mistake to say this is the way Chuck Tadros says I have to work. The answer is absolutely not. I wrote in the title they're archaic and abusive, a vast majority of them. And so, but this is kind of what's kind of unwritten, sometimes buried in somebody's subconscious that they're grading you against. And when you challenge that, that's when friction is set up. And we'll see if young people, the good thing about young people, they've got energy, they've got motivation, and they question things. And so it's a good time to start questioning all these.
Okay. Well, you seem to have a great work ethic.
Well, fair to middling.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people could learn a lot just from watching you work. I'm sure you're great around the office.
Yeah, I'm fair.
Speaking of which, we're still missing Vanessa. We can't wait to have her back.
That's right.
Hopefully the next time you tune in, you will be welcomed in by her amazing voice and not mine.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
It has been a lot of fun. Okay, so you can contact us, notyourdocpod@gmail.com. You can also contact us through the website, notyourdoc.com. The website's also got your blog, Doctor, plus all the past shows.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And it's just a great little website. This has been a great little talk.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you. Thanks, Seth. Happy 4th of July this weekend.
Everybody, be safe.
Yeah.
This 4th of July.
Always.
And don't get fired.
Yeah.
If you want to raise, ask appropriately. All those good things. All great advice.
That's good. See you later. Bye now.
Thanks.
This previous podcast represents my opinions and the opinions of my guests. This is not medical advice, and I'm not establishing a physician-patient relationship with any listener. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each patient is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions that you may have.